Dreaming of human interaction, Loud Project makes a difference with small changes. Coming to Korea to meet doctors. Medical tourism is a new wave of Hallyu.
Grown-ups playing with toys? From underground to mainstream, kidults are leading a huge consumer trend. The tears of Korean forced laborers, the truth of Japan's Hashima Island.
Citizens of Seoul have put their heads together to solve small problems in life. Four Angles introduces the Loud Project that aims to solve public issues with small ideas and make a beautiful city for all. This cafe in Seoul grabs its customers' attention with a small suggestion about the correct use of Korean language.
카페 라떼 하나랑요. 네.
Cup sleeves show the proper way to use honorifics, something that Koreans often use mistakenly.
주문하신 커피 3잔 나왔습니다. 캡슐 나왔습니다.
Honorifics used in Korean language are applied only to people. But sometimes people speak of objects in deferential terms when they intend to be respectful to people. So the cafe is showing people the correct way to use honorifics.
저도 모르게 사용하게 되는 말인데 이런 것들에 대해서 컵 홀더지만 이런 식으로 설명을 해준다는 게 되게 좋은 아이디어인 것 같아요. 다시 한번 생각하게 되는 것 같습니다.
커피 마시면서 이런 문구 한번 보면 우리 말에 대한 어떤 새로운 인식이나 좀 잘해야 되겠다라는 생각도 들 것 같아요.
The Loud Project, the name which applies small shouts, was launched in November 2014. The campaign aims to promote communication among citizens in order to solve public problems.
So even though it looks very small things, but starting from one people and another people joining and a group of people joining to do the same thing, then actually it kind of triggers the whole people can change their behavior.
The first participant to raise its voice was the civilian cooperation team of the Seoul Metropolitan Government. The power of communication championed by the Loud Project is evident on the doors of the City Hall. Mirrors placed above the door handles encourage people to hold the door open for anyone coming behind them.
I think the urban design is also, in other words, the public design. The core of public design is citizen. So without participation of the citizens, it is meaningless.
Public art projects are found overseas as well. In one case, a blackboard was put up on the wall of an empty house for people to write down their hopes. This project delivered a strong message of community reconstruction. The Loud Project in Seoul is driven mainly by its citizens. This bus stop in downtown is always hectic during commuting hours.
버스를 타려고 기다리는 사람들 줄이 너무 많으니까 좀 다소 불편한 것 같아요.
지나갈 때 틈이 없어서 좀 비집고 들어가기가 좀 많이 불편해요.
So Loud came up with this project. Reverse parentheses and an arrow were drawn on the sidewalk to allow people to pass through the gap. This is a fine example of a small idea turned into a tool of communication.
디자인보다는 어떻게 시민분들과 소통을 할 것인가, 어떻게 작은 불편을 해결해 가자는 것을 소통할 것인가에 초점을 맞추고 있다고 보시면 될 것 같습니다.
That's how these parentheses came to be. It was just a small change, but everyone was standing in line as the drawings indicated. The hectic commuting hours are just the right time to become more considerate of others.
시민들이 자신의 영역에서 외치고 있는 작은 실천 사례들이 큰 외침이라는 그 의미 있는 결과들을 만들어낼 거라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 저희 라우드와 함께 작지만 의미 있는 실천 사례들을 함께 만들어 나갔으면 좋겠습니다.
We hope that the small shouts of the Loud Project accumulate and ring loudly in the city of Seoul. There is another Korean cultural wave sweeping across the world. Now, more and more foreigners come to Korea not to see K-pop idols, but Korean doctors.
В Казахстане сейчас очень хорошее вот это направление идет, потому что сейчас очень много людей, мы слышим, что едут именно в Корею лечиться.
The Republic of Korea is it's very cheap to get your medical service here.
Korea's medical tourism has grown to attract 1 million foreign patients to the country to date. Four Angles presents the outlooks and challenges for the Korean medical tourism industry. Korea welcomed 14 million foreign visitors last year, drawing the 20th most tourists in the world. Namsan-gol Hanok Village is a must-see tourist destination in Seoul. In addition to traditional culture, tourists can experience traditional Korean medical programs.
伝統的な雰囲気で体験もすることができてとてもいいチャンスになりました。
To get some explanation about medicine and acupuncture and the tradition.
Besides ancient medical treatments, visitors can try Korean tea to improve their physical constitutions, receive acupuncture massage, and other traditional remedies.
본인의 건강을 관리하고 질병을 예방하기 위해서 각자 본인의 체질에 따른 생활 습관을 알려드리기 때문에 조금 더 심층적이고 전문적인 치료를 원하실 경우 외국인 진료가 가능한 전문 한의원이나 한방병원을 소개해드리는 역할도 하고 있습니다.
Traditional medicine is not the only reason they visit Korea. An increasing number of tourists come to experience the country's excellent healthcare services. Korea began to accept foreign patients back in 2009. Their number topped 1 million in just 6 years. Patients of 191 nationalities received medical services in Korea last year. Coordinators with professional medical knowledge help them communicate with doctors and nurses. Janet from Kazakhstan has suffered from pains in her back and neck for the past 10 years. Cutting-edge medical technology and healthcare services at Korean hospitals opened a new horizon for her.
최신 의료 장비와 신기술로 수술 후 합병증이나 재수술이 생기지 않도록 항상 노력하고 있고 외국인 환자를 배려한 병원 시설, 식사 서비스, 위성 TV, 전문 번역 서비스 등 최고의 서비스를 통해 만족도를 높이려고 노력하고 있습니다.
She was diagnosed with worn discs in the cervical vertebrae, which passed on the spinal nerves down to her tailbone to cause severe pain.
Выяснилось, что это из-за шейного отдела, то есть грудной отдел отпадает, это уже радует. Естественно, увидев, какой здесь сервис, какой здесь уровень медицины, я лучше найду эти деньги и приеду сюда.
Foreigners who underwent Korea's treatment programs are fully satisfied with the advanced techniques and equipment. But a legion of illegal brokers have started exploiting medical tourists and pose a big problem for the industry and foreign patients.
불법 브로커에게 과도한 수수료나 진료비를 지불하지 않도록 사전에 외국인 환자가 진료비에 대한 정보를 갖고 올 수 있도록 진료비를 지금 사전에 공개하는 작업을 하고 있고요.
In order to protect the medical tourists, the Korean government has disclosed medical costs and stepped up its crackdown on illegal brokers. Also, To prevent medical institutions from dealing with these shady middlemen, a medical tour center was established to produce specialists in this field. Medical coordinators work full-time there to provide interpretation services, hospital information, and tour programs.
지금까지 천차만별이던 의료관광 코디네이터 통역비의 표준 단가를 전국 최초로 마련하였습니다. 의료관광 활성화를 위해 다양한 인프라 구축과 적극적인 홍보 마케팅 활동을 추진함으로써 새로운 의료시장 개척에 더욱 매진할 계획입니다.
Korea's budding medical tourism is expected to send a new wave of Hallyu across the world.
Remote-controlled toy cars offer a thrill that's similar to driving a real car. But this toy car is owned not by an 11-year-old boy, but by his 43-year-old father.
제가 가지고 있던 어릴 때 추억을 다시 되새기면서 그것을 생각하고 내 자녀가 생김으로 해서 같이 공유할 수 있는 그런 하나의 문화라고 생각합니다.
The term kidult refers to grown-ups with childlike interests. Kidults comprise a rising cultural trend that deserves a closer look on 4 angles. A very special fair took place in Busan. A wide range of toys on display is part of the collections long accumulated by some 40 adults. They're people who express themselves through toys.
영웅 히어로 같은 그런 거 위주로 그렇게 모으고요.
어릴 적에 이제 직접 가지고 놀던 프라모델, 주로 프라모델이 주가 되고요.
아들 장난감 사준다고 시작을 했다가 제가 이제 흥미를 갖게 되어가지고 그래서 그때부터 이제 모으기 시작했어요.
The word kidult was coined to refer to grown-ups with childlike interests and preferences.
요즘은 하나의 어떤 취향으로 자리 잡고 있을 만큼 좀 일반적인 것 같아요. 그러니까 지금 2030 세대들은 자신만의 방을 갖고 자신의 취향을 꾸밀 수 있는 어떤 그런 환경에서 자랐거든요. 그러다 보니 그들은 성인이 돼서도 여전히 뭐 프라모델을 산다던가 건담 모델을 산다던가 뭐 이런 데 굉장히 막대한 돈을 쓰기도 하고요.
An increasing number of people are purchasing custom-made fictional characters that they revered as children.
숨겨진 콜렉터 분들이 많아요. 우리 집에 이게 있습니다라고 막 이렇게 공개하시는 분들이 아니고 정말로 자기 만족으로 가지고 계신 분들 그런 분들이 많기 때문에.
Costume designer Koo Ja-won started this job to satisfy his fondness for robots and characters from sci-fi movies. His childhood dream ended up directing him to his career path.
그런 꿈들을 지켜나간다는 거 그리고 이제 그것들을 이제 현실화가 됐건 이제 어떤 컬렉터가 됐건 그런 것들을 자기 만족을 위해서 모으시는 분들도 많이 계시고 한데 그런 부분들이 현대를 살아가는 데 있어서 심한 스트레스와 이런 부분들을 날릴 수 있는 좋은 돌파구라고 생각을 해요.
Grown-ups who cherish their childhood memories and cultural contents have given rise to a new trend in Korean society. The market grew to nearly $860 million in just a few years since the kidult phenomenon began. At this cafe, where customers can make plastic models, a father who grew up watching robot cartoons is enjoying a hobby with his son.
건담 종류로 따지면은 한 400~500가지 정도 시장이 되고요. 건담 매니아층이라든지 좋아하던 수집가들이 많이 오곤 했었는데 지금은 주변 사람들 이제 가족 단위 어린아이부터 어른까지 해서 같이 어울릴 수 있는 연인들까지 이렇게 쉽게 다가올 수 있는 연령층들이 많이 와서 즐기고 있습니다.
Experts offer this crucial piece of advice to help Korea's kidult industry to grow even further.
아무래도 지금의 어떤 키덜트의 캐릭터들은 전부 다 뭐 일본이나 아니면 미국 문화, 콘텐츠, 만화, 애니메이션에서 차용한 것이 많거든요. 이런 것들을 조금 더 국내에서 육성하고 또 게임 문화 자체도 좀 이런 캐릭터를 양산할 수 있도록 하는 그런 전방위적인 협력이 필요한 것이죠.
The potential for Korean kidult culture is demonstrated at this character merchandise shop.
When I was younger, I really liked the Pokemon characters, but these days, after I started using the Line app, I really started liking the Line characters.
Wow! Popular even among foreigners, this shop, selling characters from a mobile messenger service, has raked in more than $77 million in revenue so far. The message service already has over 500 million subscribers worldwide and is applauded as a pioneer of another path for Hallyu.
20, 30대 분들이 어렸을 때를 생각하면서 캐릭터 제품들을 많이 찾으시는 것 같고 또 저희가 이제 그런 제품들을 실용적인 제품들 위주로 만들다 보니까 많은 분들이 찾아주시는 것 같습니다.
Tearing down the boundaries between adult and child, kidult culture has become a major industrial keyword leading a new trend.
Actually, I was really surprised by the prices because it was really cheap. This is my favorite part of this whole store because I love this character. It's so cute.
The kidult industry has targeted the kid and every adult, triggering a trend that will go on.
지금 이제 26살 성인이기는 하지만 마음속에는 어릴 때로 약간 돌아가고 싶은 그런 마음도 있고
실질적으로 키덜트 안 입은 분은 나는 없다 생각을 하거든요. 장난감이다라는 거밖에 없지 그 말고는 다 똑같다 생각을 해요.
Hashima Island is a deserted land that's home only to ruins. 7 decades ago, this place was an industrialized city with Japan's first concrete apartment buildings. It represented Japan's future. But the truth has been concealed behind the prosperous past.
あんまりそういう歴史とかは知らないですね。
学校で軍艦島のことは習ったことはないですね。
それをいろんな学校で政治の問題でまたがってそういったものをしてるっていうのが、これはやむを得ないことですよね。
Despite this painful history, Hashima Island was recently added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. We take a closer look. Hashima Island is located within a 40-minute boat ride from Nagasaki port. Since the island was inscribed as a World Heritage Site, it's been crowded with tourists from all over Japan. Tours on Hashima Island are booked until October. A video that is shown to tourists introduces the island as a place where Japanese people aspired to live 70 years ago. Hashima is a man-made island created by Mitsubishi Corporation in 1890. It also built an undersea mine to extract coal. The island prospered up until the 1960s.
三菱にとってこの軍艦島はドル箱だったわけですね。人々の暮らしぶり、お給料、ものすごくいいんです。こういったお話は第三見学書でまた説明したいと思います。
After the mine was closed in 1974, all of the island residents left. Recently, it was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List as a symbol of Japan's Industrial Revolution. But there was one important precondition.
There were a large number of Koreans and others who were brought against their will and forced to work under harsh conditions.
Japan had to acknowledge the historic fact that during the war, forced laborers from Korea and China had to suffer in the undersea coal mine on Hashima Island. 7 of the 23 places that were recently added to the World Heritage List had forced labor facilities. The Japanese government accepted the precondition, but after the island's inscription, it changed the phrase forced labor to work, sparking an international controversy.
일본 정부로서는 지금 상당히 좀 무리를 해가면서 국제적인 상식에 맞지 않게 지금 그런 강제 노동을 지금 부인하고 있는 셈이죠.
Some 600 Koreans were forced to go to Hashima Island as laborers in the 1940s. Of those, 122 died. What do Japanese tourists visiting Hashima Island think about this?
みんなに知れることはとてもいいって思うし、もっともっと知ってほしいってそういうのは思ってますね。
韓国の人はなんかちょっとなんやこと言うとけどもうそんな昔の話や。
どう思いましたかってやっぱり登録されて当然のものだと思いました。はい、あれは行ってみてなおさらそう思いました。
What used to be an abandoned island has become a prime tourist attraction and a World Heritage Site. Cookies shaped like the island and all kinds of souvenirs catch tourists' eyes, but the history of forced labor is not mentioned anywhere. Those who fell victim to forced labor at the time called Hashima an island of hell.
일제 태평양 전시 강제징용자 최장섭.
Forced to work on Hashima Island at the age of 16, he's recorded his time there.
일제 강점하에 징용자의 피해지이며 포로가 잡혀와 강제노동으로 고생한 유적지인 하시마를 일본 정부가 관광지로 변경한다는 것은 참으로 역사적으로 천부당만부당한 처사임을.
He had to work 12 hours a day in the mine, located 1 kilometer underground, without having enough food to eat.
자살을 기도하고 목숨 걸고 바다에 뛰어들 만큼 하루하루 생활이 고단한 이 섬이었었다.
Many of the forced laborers were U.S. prisoners of war. That's the reason U.S. lawmakers sent a handwritten letter to oppose the inscription of Hashima Island as a World Heritage Site.
Issue, and they want to correct what they see as incorrect versions of history, but that's according to them, of course.
The nation that opposed the inscription the most was Korea. A video entitled The Truth of Hashima was made and sent to Japanese lawmakers and Nagasaki officials.
한국인과 중국인이 그곳에서 강제 노역을 했다는 자체를 모르는 일본인들이 대부분이라는 점을 이번에 정말 더 느낄 수 있었고요. 그래서 일본 사회에 어떤 이러한 메시지를 전달하기 위해서 계속적인 홍보 활동을 펼쳐나갈 예정입니다.
Efforts to publicize the truth of Hashima Island are gaining pace in Japan as well. The Nagasaki Peace Museum was founded in 1995 by Japanese who demanded compensation and apology for all the foreigners who were victimized by Japan during the war.
こんなところでももう7、8人こう込められていたでしょうね。そういったことで、これも作ってみたんですけど、これは一種の模型ですよね。
The museum has a replica of the Hashima Island coal mine and items that were used by forced laborers at the time.
朝鮮人中国人が強制連行され強制労働をさせられた場所について、ただ目覚ましい産業革命遺産というのは納得できないと言いますか。
The museum also organized a meeting between a victim of forced labor and Nagasaki residents.
今もその時を考えては涙ばかり出て인간 대 인간, 사람 대 사람입니다.
인간에 대한 그 진리라는 것이 있죠. 진실이라는 것. 네. 진리는 오직 하나밖에 없습니다. 아리랑 아라리.
The victims of forced labor want only one thing: the Japanese government's acknowledgement of the tragic history.
나를 버리고 가시나니 힘이도 못 가서 발병난다.
70年後に来てくださって話をすることでね、やっぱり日本がしっかりと歴史を捉えていかなければいけないっていう事実を間違いなく考えることができました。
その世界遺産に登録されることはいいんですけど、本当にそこで起こった真実も一緒に韓国の方々がここで強制連行されて働いてたという真実も一緒にガイドに説明することが大事だと思いました。